It's a final salute to a Western New York native who has now joined fellow war heroes and U.S. presidents in the hallowed ground of Arlington National Cemetery. Good evening to you. Donna's off tonight. Sergeant James Hackemer survived the wounds of war and died pursuing his zest for life. Today, loved ones joined the U.S. military to say goodbye. News 4's George Rickert has followed Sergeant Hackemer's story since the beginning and brings us the emotional farewell at Arlington National Cemetery.
Well, the Hackemer family always seemed surprised whenever James would come home from rehab, oftentimes to a hero's welcome in Gowanda. Today, about 150 people made the trip here to Washington to see him buried at his final resting place, this historic cemetery.
It's such an honor to be here, and it's a beautiful resting place for what they've done for us, for our freedom.
For a couple burying their youngest child, the Hackemers stood strong, knowing Sergeant James Hackemer wanted to be buried here.
This is what he wanted. He asked me when we buried Alex here in November, he said, "Dad, if I die early, would you get me buried in Arlington, cremate me, and have me buried there?" And I said, "Yes, I will."
James wanted to be buried near his friend, Alex Knapp, who lost his legs on that same day in 2008. He died last fall playing sled hockey. James died riding a roller coaster. No surprise to Sergeant Benny Smith, who knew them both.
Instead of dying on some road in Iraq, they went out doing something they loved.
We shared the same wounds, spilled the same blood.
JUDE RECENDEZ lost his legs in Iraq and came to know James recovering at Walter Reed Army Medical Center.
It may be knowing a guy for 3 months, but he's definitely a soldier, and I was definitely he made a big impact on my wife and I's life, you know, so, and he will be missed, but we'll always remember him.
James's legacy of faith is going to live on, and his scripture on his stone says, "Walk by faith, not by sight." 2 Corinthians 5:7. That was James.
So James Hackemer takes his final rest in this historic cemetery where JFK and generals from wars gone by also rest. At Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, George Rickert, News 4.